everyone, it's Nikki Luther here in Palm Coast, Florida. So today I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about pre-occupancy before closing, meaning you are moving into the house that you are buying before you close, before you own the house. Is this good or is this bad? I have dealt with this a couple of times over my real estate career, and sometimes it has a great turnout and other times it is not so good. So you want to make sure that you are fully protected when taking pre-occupancy of a home that you do not own, because the seller is going to make sure that they are also fully protected on their side. So what I mean by this is situations where you may be paying rent for a month before you close and before you own the house, situations where you may have to sign a waiver saying you accept the house the way that it is before that closing date. You may have to sign closing papers early and put down an extra deposit. There are a ton of different options and negotiations that are going to go into pre-occupancy. This is because it is a huge risk for the seller. You know, someone is moving into their home. They still own the home the entire time that you will be living in it until they sign it over, you know, until the loan that you are purchasing it with is funded, or until the cash that you're purchasing it with, you know, is wired. So it is a huge risk for the sellers. You know, a buyer could say, well, this is broken and that is broken, and a ton of things can pop up, or they could decide they don't like the house. They can decide they've changed their mind. There are a ton of legalities that go with pre-occupancy of a home that you do not own. So you are going to want to think about it before you go for it. Talk to your agent, talk to possibly a lawyer, depending on, you know, the situation, depending on the scenario. So the scenario is really going to be where you're going to want to make your decision. So I'll give you kind of an example of one of the times that has happened to me. So the particular buyer closed on their house in another state, and they were buying my listing with the funds from that, but also from a loan. The loan was going to take 45 days, but they needed somewhere to live for 20 of the days. So we did set up where, you know, they accepted the house, they signed a waiver, they signed an agreement to pay a extra deposit and pay for those 20 days that they were going to be living there. And then, of course, we closed on the house on time and it was ready to go. So there were different steps that we had to go through in order to make the pre-occupancy work. So if you have any questions on this, it is super confusing. I know it is totally in depth. It all depends on each scenario, each transaction, each agent, each seller, each buyer. You know, one seller may be like, absolutely, it's fine, they'll work with you. Another seller may say, hey, no way, it's way too big of a risk for me. So it really depends on your scenario. This kind of just dips a little bit in the water with how big of a subject this is. If you want to hear more about it, you can always let me know. You can email me at nluther@palmcoastrealestate.com, or check me out on Facebook /nlutherrealtor. I can also make a video on post-occupancy, which has happened before too, which means you are staying 2 weeks in a home that you've already closed on and you are the seller. So these are my thoughts. If you guys have any questions and I did not just completely throw you off there, have a great day.